Welcome students. So my name is Andre Forrester and I'm going to be doing a little lesson for you all today. So today we're actually going to be doing a lesson on subject and verb agreement. Good, so we're going to go through that and see what it is it's about and see if we can analyze it a little bit. So we have two major objectives today and one smaller one that we'll start with to help to make sure that everything we're doing goes smoothly. So we're going to analyze sentences to identify the subject and the verb, and we're going to choose verbs to agree with the subject and number. And before we go through all of that, we actually have a little piece where we're going to go over singular and plural, right? That concept, and specifically as it pertains to nouns in this case to start, right? Very good. So a singular noun names one thing. So any noun that gives name to one singular thing, one single thing, one thing only is singular, right? So we have an example here of a picture, and the picture shows a car, one car. And the noun for that obviously would be the word car. So that noun there, that word is singular because it refers to only one thing. So you have ball. So you have one ball, it's singular. And if you were to have more than one thing, it's plural. And a plural noun names more than one thing, as I would have just said. So for the same example before where you had one car, now you have many cars. So cars, the word cars there is plural because it's telling you about more than one thing. And as before, if you had one ball, then it's singular. And if you have two or three or five or how many ever, it's many balls. So it's plural that time. So singular one, plural more than one. So we have a nice list here that shows you different ways that you can go through it. So you have child as is singular, you're referring to one child. But if you have more than one, you use the word children. So the child is playing outside or the children are playing outside. So you have those two depending on whether you're referring to singular or plural. So there and there, both singular and plural are the same. So you have fish, fish, foot, feet. So you have one foot, so you have 2 feet. You have goose as in one, you have geese, multiple. Let's go down. So you have a funny one here where you have octopus as singular, you have octopi as plural. Good. You have tooth, you have one tooth, or you have teeth, you have many teeth. Right, you have woman, straight down to the bottom of you have women. Singular, one woman, plural, a few women, or 2 women, or how many ever, more than one. Right, so now what I want you to do is we're going to read a few things and see whether or not you think the noun is singular or if it's plural. So remember, singular will mean it's referring to one thing, and plural will mean it's referring to more than one thing. So let's go. So the bats fly through the house and scare the children. So are they talking about one? Are they talking about many? So if you read it through and you think about it, you'll realize that what they are talking about there is more than one bat. So it would have to be plural. So hopefully you got that answer. So if they were saying the bat flew through the house and scared the children, then they would be talking about one singular bat. But in this case, it's actually more than one, so it's plural. Then we have the trees sway in the breeze as if dancing. So are they referring to one tree? Are they referring to multiple? How many are they talking about? Is it singular? Is it plural? So think about it. And this is another example of plural. So trees here would be plural, just like bats would be plural in the previous one. And here we have the boy likes to play with his toy. So would this word here be singular? Is it referring to one, or would it be plural? Is it referring to more than one? And if you said that it's singular, then you would be correct because you're talking about one particular boy here. So it's only one, so it has to be singular. Singular, single, single, one. Right. So now we have the meat of it where we are talking about subject and verb. So the subject of a sentence is the noun or a pronoun that the sentence is about. And that's very important because yes, it can be a noun, which we would have learned is a naming word. It can also be a pronoun, which is a word that's used to replace a noun. So it can be anything that is the noun. It's what the subject, the sentence is actually about. It will be what the sentence is talking to you about. It can also be the noun or pronoun that is doing the action in a sentence. So that's also very important. So we'll get into that action word there, and it would be part of your review, and you would know that the subject is that noun or that pronoun that is doing that action in whatever the sentence might be. So we have a verb. A verb is a doing or action word, as we would have mentioned before. So you have these two major parts where you have the subject, which can be a noun or a pronoun, and you have the action, which is what we would have learned as a verb, a doing word, an action word, a word that shows something being done. So the subject is the person or thing or animal or whatever in that sentence or paragraph that is doing that action. That would be the subject of what you're doing. So here we have, my dog barks at passing cars. And we're going to break down this sentence. You can see we have two words in red, we have one in purple. And there's a very important reason as to that, because those two words are different parts. So we have the word dog, which itself is a noun, and we have the word cars, which itself is also a noun. But in this sentence, there's only one subject. So the subject of that sentence, as I mentioned, would be the one doing the action or having the action being done. So barks here is the verb of that sentence. Well, what you have to ask yourself is, in that sentence that I gave you there, who or what is doing the action? Is it the dog, which is one of your noun examples, one of your noun samples, or is it the car? And let's read it through again. My dog barks at passing cars. So who is doing the action there? If you can figure that out, then you can also figure out who the subject of the sentence is. And let's see what we have. Right. So as I said, it has two nouns, but only one is doing that verb, and that would be the subject. And here it would be the dog, because the dog is the one doing the barking. Right. So what we have are a few examples here of verbs. So we have draw, so I like to draw, or she likes to draw. We have hop, right? So when playing, I enjoy the times when I get to hop. You have jump, you have read, you have write, you have dance, dive, swim. And each and every one of these would be an example of a verb. They are all actions that you can do and things that can be done. So that's how you can figure out what the verb is as well. If you want a little hint, think about things that can be done in a sentence or a paragraph, and more than likely, they would be a verb. And then you have this other set here where you have apple, ball, bed, bird, boat, boy, bread, and car. And all of these here would be examples of nouns. Very good. So we would have had the verbs before, which are the actions that can be taken. And now we have the nouns, which are the ones who can do the actions, because they are the people, places, animals, or whatever that can take those actions into consideration. So what we're going to do now is we're going to try to identify the verbs in these sentences I'm going to give you. So the action words, the words that can be done or are being done in the sentences. So the baby only talks when his father isn't around. So the baby only talks when his father isn't around. So I want you to read through, and if you have a pencil or a piece of paper, you can write down what you think the verb in that sentence is. So let's go through it. So the baby only talks when his father isn't around. So that talks there will be the verb in this sentence. So that's what we are going for. So that's the action being taken, the act of speaking, the act of talking. That's the action there that the baby is taking. Then we have the cars race along the same track every year. So the cars race along the same track every year. And what do you think there is the verb? We have the cars race along the same track every year. So race there is the verb. So the cars are racing, and that's the action that they are taking. So last one now. So the fluffy dog tries very hard to seem vicious, but it just looks cuter. The fluffy dog tries very hard to seem vicious, but it just looks cuter. So different from the other two, this one actually has two verbs. So see if you can sort them out. So the fluffy dog tries very hard to seem vicious. That'll be our first one. So he's trying a thing, he's barking and he's looking, but he's just too cute. So instead, he just looks cuter. So now that we can identify the verbs in the sentences, what we're going to do is we're going to try to find the subjects, right? So we're going to identify the subjects using those verbs that we have already found. So it's the same sentences, but what I want you to do is see the one doing the action, and that will give you the subject of these sentences. So again, same sentence, the baby only talks when his father isn't around. So who is that sentence about? Who is the one doing that talking when his father isn't around? Is the father the subject of the sentence, or is it the baby? So those are the two nouns that you would find there, right? So baby would be the subject of this sentence, because that's the one doing the talking, that's the one that it's mainly about. Second one, the cars race along the same track every year. Just like before, you actually have two options for what it might be, because you have the track and you have the cars. So what is this sentence actually about? Who is the one doing the action? And if you said cars, then you would be correct, right? So the cars are the ones that are doing the actions. They are the subject of this sentence. Last one, the fluffy dog tries very hard to seem vicious, but it just looks cuter. Who is the sentence about? Who are we talking about in this sentence? Think about it for a little while and the answer will pop up. So in this case, we have the fluffy dog being the subject of this sentence. So if you manage to get all the verbs and all of the different subjects, then I congratulate you. You did very, very, very well. Right, so now we're going to talk about subject and verb agreement. Because we know what the subject of the sentence is, we can find that. We know what the verb in the sentence is, we can find that. We're going to talk about how they can work together and how they can agree. So when we're talking about subject and verb agreement, there are a few rules that we have to keep in mind. So when writing sentences, you have to pair a singular subject with a singular verb, and you also have to pair a plural subject with a plural verb. So those are two simple rules that will let you, but you also have to understand what we are talking about. So we went previously and we spoke about singular and plural and those two concepts. Let's go through it. So we know that singular would mean one, and we know that plural would mean more than one. So in this case, we have plural subjects end in S, whereas plural verbs do not. So it's the opposite. So if the subject is plural, and the verb has to be plural as well, the subject ends in S, but the plural doesn't, right? And we said often because it's not always, because you can't have a subject that does not end in S but is still plural. So if you're talking about a couple people and you list all of them, so you have James, John, and June, it would still be plural because it's more than one, but it doesn't end in S there. So that's why we say often. So we have plural subject has a plural verb. And we have some examples. The dogs chase the cat. So we have dogs being the plural subject. It's more than one and it ends in that S there. And we have plural verb, chase the cat. The verb there would be chase, and as you can see, there's no S at the end there. Next one, we have the students work hard. So we have the students being the plural subject. There's more than one student. And then we have work hard. Work being the verb, and as you can see, just as before, no S because it's also plural. There's that opposite there. Plural subject, S, plural verb, no S. And as I spoke about before, Susan and Karen drive to work. So this is one of the exceptions where you have Susan and Karen, does not end in S, but it's still plural because you're talking about your subject together. So it's both of them forming a subject. Does not end in S, but it is plural, and therefore you have to also have a plural verb. So you have drive to work. Good? Very nice. And as we said, singular subjects lack the S this time. So if you have a plural subject, the S goes at the end in most cases. But if you have a singular subject, then it lacks that S. There's no S at the end there. But the singular verb does have the S. So again, it's the opposite. So if you remember one of them, then it will also help you remember the others. So if you remember, a singular subject has no S, and it can help you. So you know it's the opposite with the verb, and it's the reverse when it comes to the plural. So singular subjects, no S. Singular verb has the S. So singular subjects, Johnny, one person, singular, walks to school. So the verbs there would be walk, right? And that walk will tell you the action that is being done by the subject. And since the subject is singular, the verb is singular, and it ends in that S. And then you have the plane arrives on time. The plane is the one doing the action, the plane is the subject of the sentence, and the action being taken is arrive, right? It's arriving, it arrives on time. Singular subject, singular verb. Singular subject S, no S, singular verb S. Good. So what we're going to do now is we have a few words here that I've given you, and we're going to sort them into singular subject, singular verb, plural subjects, and plural verbs. So we're going through them one by one, and then we're going to see where they're going to end up. So let's use the words now. So we have walk, we have Andy, we have birds, we have kick, we have jump, we have computers, girls, sees, friend, bites, bed, and stick. So those are all the words that we have to sort through as well. So take walk, for example. Would walk be a noun subject, or would it be a verb? And then you have to think about whether it would be singular or whether it would be plural, based on what we would have discussed previously. So where would walk go? Walk will go as a plural verb. So it's a verb, it's an action word, it's something that can be done, and it does not have the S at the end, making it a plural verb. So let's go with Andy now. Would Andy be singular? Would it be plural? Would it be a subject? Would it be a verb? And Andy would actually be a singular subject. So it's one person you're talking about. It will have to be singular, right? So singular subject, and we have a plural verb so far. So now we have birds. Subject, verb, singular, plural. Same question. Birds would fall into a plural subject, right? So it's more than one bird. That S at the end there will tell you that it's plural, and because it's plural, and it's a noun in this case, it will be your plural subject. Then we have kick. Where do you think kick would go? So kick will go as our second plural verb, right? So no S, lacks the S at the end, that makes it the plural in this case. So we're using the rule and we're going through it. We have jump. So jump will go another plural verb, right? No S, it will be used with a plural subject, which, as we know before, has a S at the end in most cases. Right, so we have computers going on next, and computers will it be another plural verb? I don't know. Plural subject in this case. So we have computers, you have the S at the end there, they're talking about more than one. It will be plural, and it's a noun in that case, so it can be a plural subject. We have girls, which fall under the category of plural subject as well. So more than one girl, ends in the S, plural subject. So we have sees. Where will sees go? All right, so we have our first singular verb. So you have that verb there, that action word ending in S, telling you, yes, it is singular. It will be used with a singular subject as well. So we have friend. Where will friend go? Friend will have to be under the singular subject banner as well, because you're referring to one friend in that particular instance. We have bites. So we have another singular verb coming up. A verb, an action, so you're biting something, ends in S, it's singular. Beds as our second to last, and beds will be a plural subject. So you have more than one bed, it ends in the S there, it's plural, it's your plural subject. And our last one, stick. Where will stick go? Right, so final one, another singular subject. We are talking about one particular stick. So very good, excellent work. Can't complain. Right. So now because we can identify them, we are going to try using them. So we are going to choose a suitable verb to match the subject of the sentences. So each sentence will have both options, both singular and plural. And you get to pick which one will go with the subject of that sentence. Let's go. So Angel either put or puts ketchup on her burger. So Angel put or puts ketchup on her burger. So which one do you think it will be? Will Angel be a singular subject or a plural subject, and which word will you have to pair that with for it to be, for the subject and verb agreement to be there? Right, so Angel is singular, so you have to put it with a singular verb as well. And the singular verb, as we said, is the one that will end in S. So Angel puts ketchup on her burger. Excellent work. Moving on. He thinks that he is overly smart. So he thinks that he is overly smart. So in this case, we are not using a noun, we're using a pronoun. I would have mentioned that it can be used with pronouns as well for your subject. So we're using he, and which one do you think it will go with? Is he singular, is it plural? And which verb will match up with it? Let's see. Right, so he thinks that he is overly smart. Singular subject, singular verb. And the singular verb will be the one that ends in S. We drink or drinks water a lot during hot days. So we drink or drinks water a lot during hot days. So we have we, another pronoun being used there. And will that be referring to one person? Is it you alone? Is it more than one person? So would that be singular or plural? And which verb would match up there? Let's see. Right. So this one will actually have to be a plural verb. And we know that the plural verbs have no S at the end there. So it's actually we drink water a lot during hot days. Good stuff. Last one. They sing or sings a lot while driving. So again, two particular options. So you have they. Ask yourself, is they singular, is it plural? And sing or sings, which one will match up? So a lot while driving. And there the answer would be they sing a lot while driving. So it's plural subject, plural verb. And hopefully you would have gotten all of them to match up properly. Good job. So now let's go over what we would have learned from the start of this lesson to the end of it so far. Right, so the term singular refers to one thing, whereas plural refers to more than one. So singular, single, one, or plural, more than one. So whether it's 2, whether it's 3, whether it's 79, how much ever it is. If it's more than one, then it would be plural. And if it's only one, then it's singular. So the subject of a sentence is the noun that the sentence is about. It is also the noun that is doing the action in the sentence. So who or whatever the sentence is telling you about mainly, that is the subject of that sentence. And another hint about it is it's the one in the sentence doing the action. Good? So if you have somebody kicking a ball, whoever kicking the ball, that's probably the subject of that sentence. And we have a verb as an action word, and it tells you what the subject of a sentence is doing. So whatever action is being taken in that sentence, that will be something that would qualify as a verb. Right? So we have singular subjects need singular verbs, and plural subjects need plural verbs. Another very important thing to remember. So where you make sure that you have your subject and your verb agreeing with one another. And remember, singular subject does not end in S, but a singular verb does. Plural subject has an S at the end, but the plural verb does not. So it's always going to be an opposite relation in the regular cases. And of course, there are usually exceptions, but those are things that we have to learn and that we have to practice and that we have to go through with time. So hopefully you all learned something, you all went through a review and you all had a good time. And if you need more, have your parents visit learn.moe.gov.tt for your ECCE, primary and secondary school needs. Thank you very much.